I'm here in front of Washington State Laboratories, which is going to be the current or temporary home for anyone who comes in with a suspected case of virus. What is going on, guys? It's Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Tonight we're going to be talking about the CV and how it has hit locally. I am here in Seattle and it is nuts. I'm only speaking for here because I can actually show you what it looks like. Also, I'm going to show you the footage from the Washington State Laboratory where I went in person before this entire declaration was made. Obviously, the entire state is talking about it in the entire country. In fact, the top trending right now is CV Seattle. If you would like to support us in a different way and something that actually protects you from a lot of the digital viruses that are out there, you should go with NordVPN. It's one of the most advanced VPNs out there, and if you don't know what that is, it's a virtual private network. Of course, you can go to marfooglenews.com/VPN to find out more. I went here and I was actually, by the end of this, being watched by several people because obviously I'm a guy sitting outside the gate for 2.5 hours, and these guys, honestly, it didn't look like much was going on. I'll show you what was going on, and it was actually kind of weird. They had an outside tent. Some neighbor walked up to me and said that his friends worked across at that laboratory when it was normal business hours, and they said that all of the normal employees were not allowed in the main campus. Now, you're seeing all this news coming out of this laboratory here on 15th and 150th that they are doing all of the testing. So I'm going to show you this, and you might just understand what I'm talking about. So this is on 150th and 15th Northeast, which is in Shoreline, Washington. I'm here in front of Washington State Laboratories, which is going to be the current or temporary home for anyone who comes in with a suspected case of virus. So behind me there are some actual trailers or RVs really that are supposed to be housing the folks that are coming in. Now, I've been here for about 2 hours, and I will show some clips of kind of the things that I've seen, but I have not seen anyone enter or exit those trailers. I have not seen anybody bring anything to them. I'm assuming they are empty right now. I am assuming that this is set up in case it gets worse. But then again, they said that North Bend would be the location where they were going to hold them, which if you're a local, you know North Bend is actually forest. It's out in the boons. The place that they had it was a training center for, I believe it was a fire academy, where it was a long kind of dirt road out to the place, and no one would accidentally stumble upon it, basically, which seems like a much smarter place to house a very, 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 very dangerous coronavirus like this. Now, as far as like what's been going on, I will let you know I saw kind of a powwow, a meeting in the tent behind me. I'll show you clips of that. It looked like they all came out. In fact, I even got a clip of one of the women, looks like administration, sanitizing as she came out, and then she went back in. There were a few officers and a few administrative, it looked like a few workers, all coming out of this small tent. So that kind of took away the fact that that's not somewhere where they're housing any victims. That's more so for housing staff, and it's kind of a headquarters. But yeah, it seems like there's not much going on. They've got generators running. What I thought it was interesting is that they are actually running the office outside, not inside the building. And then a neighbor came by and asked me what I was doing, basically said that he actually read Zero Hedge, and he said that he knows people that work here and at the other place when their normal business hours are open. And he said that they are keeping everybody that works there away from the main campus, and they won't let them where they usually work. So, and then if you look at the trailers, they're not that big. They're RVs, they say can house up to 6 people. But then again, that would be pushing it. If you've ever stayed in an RV that size, that would be like pulling down the tables, making beds out of the fold-down tables, pulling down bunks, and then using every bit of space. Now, if you were a family member that did not have it, and you were housed in that thing, you most definitely would get it. If we look at what happened with the Diamond Princess cruise, no different than, that was a bigger space, and a lot of people got that from close contact or even touching surfaces, or at least that's what they say happened. Now, as far as this, they actually have a Washington State Patrol, which I'll show you a clip of now, that is technically letting people in and out. I'll show you the video of him walking over, and you can see that it's actually not locked at all. In fact, he just went over kind of as a courtesy to open it for them. So technically, somebody could drive up in here and bust in, but there's no reason, right? Because nobody would want to get in. They would want to get out. But as far as getting out, if there were people housed here, I would assume that that gate would be locked. Because if we've seen what's gone on in China, people don't like being held against their will. And that's exactly what is happening. It's a mandatory lockdown of everything that is going on. I've seen there's several federal vehicles here. There is Homeland Security. And here's a weird thing about this whole thing. First of all, it's sandwiched in between two high schools, or a high school and Furcrest School. So it's literally in the same kind of block as two schools, a field where they're playing basketball and all sorts of that thing. This is normally a public laboratory connected to some sort of foundation building. And then they have signs in the front, which I'll show you a clip of, where they're actually asking to hire nurses and people like that. So I don't know if that's something that was popped up new, or that's some campaign that they've been running for a while. There's essentially some posters out front that say hiring, and I believe that was up before this all happened. It was looking for RNs and nurses. It was posted all around the corners, but then there was another sign that looked newer that said looking for phlebotomists. So that one I thought was a little weird. The neighbors in this neighborhood, in fact, including the Shoreline newspaper woman, asked me, and she said, hey, is it okay if I take pictures of you? Or I'm sorry, she asked me if she could post my pictures. She already took pictures of me. She was an older lady, and she was actually feisty. She runs the Shoreline kind of little paper that's free, that kind of is handed out in Shoreline or in most of the little stores. And I thought she was totally going to be the opposite. She's like, no, I'm going to go question that officer. She was like totally feisty. She said she was going to try to get in the gate. I was like, wow, she was like 75 years old, or I shouldn't guess her age. But anyways, so that was the Washington State Laboratory. And mind you, this is before all of this went down. This was the 3 days I took off to try to investigate this and to try to go deeper. Now, it kind of makes sense that they moved it into the city now that we saw that one of the first cases was right in Mill Creek. Is that not weird or what? I mean, it was like they kind of saw this coming. Now there's a bunch up there, and then of course you've got in Kirkland the Life Care Center, which has a ton of cases there, and that is a nursing home. Now, we not only had the first U.S. perished, we had 6, and it was like that. Now, I believe, Dex, do we have an update on how many? I think it's 9, right?
Hey, Adam, yes, we're up to 9 now, all in the state of Washington.
So obviously here it's gotten crazy. Now I showed you the videos of Costco, absolutely nuts. People said, oh, this is just a normal Saturday at Costco. And then I showed you the drone footage. Then I showed you the shelves. And then I showed you even employees saying, no, we ran out at 10:30 a.m. We have no water. And I said, do you have any more in back? This is a Costco, mind you. And they said, no, we would pull it out if we did. And that was 3 tagged employees saying, nope, we ran out of everything. If you would like to support us in another way, EMP Shield can actually protect you against an EMP or a CME. In fact, it will protect you against all 3 phases, E1, E2, and E3. This is actually one of the most serious things that I actually talk about, and it is something that we've been talking about for a year now. Just like this current situation, which we kind of showed you all of the World Health Organization's warnings. We showed you all the maps of what they kind of had planned and things like this. So as far as the EMP shield, that has more evidence than this did, because this actually had the president sign basically a huge treaty, or sorry, not a treaty, a order to protect our grid, and that's because we had Homeland Security suggest that every single American should have 6 months to a year of food and water on hand in case we have a complete power outage. The thing is if this happened, it would take anywhere from 9 months to 2 years to get the grid back up. Now, some people would say, well, what good would this be if all of your devices work and you have no grid? Well, what I suggest is that you get one for your generator and at least your car if you plan to bug out. Because it doesn't matter if you have a generator and 20,000 gallons of gas. If it's fried, then it won't work. But if you have all three of these, then you will be set up. Especially those who have solar systems, this can protect those. Ham radios, if you plan to connect with people. You can't keep all of these things in a Faraday cage. Can you build a Faraday cage big enough for your entire house? Probably not. Instead, you can do what DoD does, what Homeland Security does, and what now the Texas Grid does, and get EMP Shield to protect you. In fact, they are officially part of the DEMSO team protecting the team. They're veteran-owned, and they're 100% made in America. In fact, they're handmade in Kansas. You can get these and multiples and even save $50 off per device by going to marfooglenews.com/EMP. Again, that's marfooglenews.com/EMP. A small portion of that goes to support broadcasts like this, and it will actually protect you. So it's a win-win for everyone. They just can't see. They love the Marfoogle family, but they just can't see. They love the Marfoogle family, but they just can't see. They love the Marfoogle family, but they just can't see. They love the Marfoogle family, but they just can't see. They love the Marfoogle family, but they just can't see.